Okay, so let's talk about something I think a lot of us have felt. You ever get stuck in that loop of just learning? You're watching tutorials, you're reading books, you're bookmarking articles, but you never actually build anything. Well, today, we're going to dive into a system that is designed specifically to pull you out of what's called tutorial hell and get you actually creating real stuff.
Now, this is a heck of a claim, right? I learned more in 3 months than 3 years. This is the promise of the whole system we're about to break down. It comes from someone who went from just endlessly consuming content to actually shipping real, live projects. It's a pretty radical transformation, and it all boils down to one powerful core idea.
So, what's the big problem here? It's this gap you see on the screen. The traditional way we're told to learn is, understand everything before you start. Finish the course, read the entire book, master the theory first. But the harsh reality is you forget almost all of it. Why? Because you never actually use it. And that incredibly frustrating cycle, well, that's what people call tutorial hell.
And that brings us right to our first big topic, the lie of learning. We're going to dig into why that passive approach, just sitting there watching and reading, can feel so frustrating and ultimately unproductive.
I mean, just look at these numbers. They're pretty brutal. This isn't just a feeling. This is failure you can count. 47 programming books, 23 courses, hundreds of tutorials, thousands of bookmarked articles. And the result? A big, fat zero. Zero production systems built. This isn't real learning. It's the illusion of learning. It's collecting resources instead of actually building skills.
So, what finally breaks a cycle like that? You might think it's a new course or some magical book, but no. It was a crisis, a genuine, time-crunched crisis. And that brings us to the turning point in this story, a single project that changed absolutely everything in just 2 weeks.
And this was the project that landed on their desk. Not some simple practice app. The task was to migrate a critical, honest-to-goodness authentication system to OAuth 2. This is a complex, high-stakes kind of job, where if you mess up, things really break. And here's the kicker. The deadline? 2 weeks. That's it. There was literally no time to go read a 500-page textbook or watch some 10-hour video series on the subject. The only option was to just jump in, feet first, and start trying to build the thing. And that pressure, it forced a completely new way of working. It wasn't about passive learning anymore. It became about active problem solving. On day 1, the basic flow broke. So they fixed it. Day 2, the token refresh thing wasn't working. Fixed it. This constant break-fix cycle actually led to a working system in just 1 week.
And this whole experience created this massive aha moment. This was the key insight. The struggle is the system. See, the learning doesn't happen before to do the work. The learning is the work. It's that process of wrestling with a real-world problem, making a mess, and figuring out how to fix it that actually cements the knowledge in your brain.
Okay, so that's the backstory, that's the philosophy. But now, let's get practical. This brings us to the struggle system itself, a 6-step framework that you can literally just steal and start using today.
All right, here they are, the 6 steps. Number 1, pick a real problem. 2, start immediately. Don't wait. 3, build the ugliest version you can. 4, learn the absolute minimum you need to get unblocked. 5, ship it. Yes, even if it's embarrassing. And 6, refactor and clean it up while the code is still fresh in your mind. Let's zoom in on a couple of the most important ones.
Step 1 is absolutely crucial. Pick a real problem. You see, a tutorial project like building yet another to-do app is just too clean. It's sterile. It doesn't have the messy, weird edge cases of the real world. A good problem is one that solves a personal need, like, say, building a custom dashboard for your own sales data. That forces you to deal with real authentication, messy data, and all the frustrating friction that comes with it. That's where the learning is. So what do you do when you inevitably hit a wall and get stuck? This is step 4. Learn the minimum. Your first instinct is probably to go wide, right? Read the whole textbook chapter, watch a 3-hour deep dive course. But this system says no, go narrow. Google the exact error message you're seeing. Find that one specific paragraph in the documentation that solves your immediate problem. The whole goal is just to get unblocked so you can get right back to building.
Of course, this whole approach feels a little backwards, and there are some really common objections. You might be thinking, but I need the fundamentals first. Well, you actually learn them way better after you've felt the pain that those fundamentals are designed to solve. Or, I'll build bad habits.
Actually, you'll build better habits by having to fix your own broken code rather than just blindly copying perfect code from a tutorial.
Look, this all sounds great in theory, but where's the proof, right? Let's look at the actual, concrete results of putting this system into practice.
The outcome is just laid out right here. It's night and day. The 3 years before were jam-packed with activity, reading, buying courses, but it all resulted in 0 systems built. The next 3 months were focused only on building, and the result was 3 production systems shipped. I mean, the difference is just staggering.
And this isn't some kind of magic trick. It's actually grounded in how our brains are wired to learn. Passively consuming information is weak. Actively struggling with a problem creates really strong memory pathways. When you have to fix your own mistakes, it forces your brain to recognize patterns and build real mental models. You can't just think your way to competence, you have to fail your way there.
Which brings us to our last and, honestly, our most important section. This is where the theory stops and you have to start. It's your turn to build. It's time to stop learning and maybe start breaking things.
If you only take one single thing away from all of this, let it be this idea. The struggle is the system. The bugs you create, those are your teachers. And the production errors you have to fix, that's your curriculum. Learning isn't some separate step you do before you start the real work. The work is the learning. And so, we're going to leave you with this one last question. Just think about it for a second. What is that one thing you've been learning forever? The one you've collected tutorials for, bookmarked articles about, but have never, ever actually built. Maybe today's the day you stop learning and you actually start building.